Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome officially to the channel. This is, as you know from the intro, a series where I go into odd game accessories or peripherals the developers made to get us more into the game mentally or physically. Today, well, I have something that's well and truly an oddity that I haven't seen the likes of, well, ever actually, and that's the Mortal Kombat controller. Yeah, you heard that right, a controller specifically just for Mortal Kombat. And it's not a standard arcade stick. So, sit back and hang out a while as we go into this cool little controller made just for Mortal Kombat. Now, I'm sure most of us have played more than a few fighting games, many of us making use of the regular gamepad or, if we're lucky, an arcade stick. Part of the allure of these games was learning the moves and where they worked, and how to perfect your tactics for your favorite fighter. One of the major hurdles that the player would have to overcome first, though, was learning to input the commands so they could execute the special moves to fully utilize the character. It wasn't that they were any more complicated than anything else that came before. In many ways, the ones in Mortal Kombat were simpler and more approachable than many ones used, mostly using quarter circle motions or even double taps in one direction, unlike Street Fighter that would use full circles, half circles, and even Dragon Punch motions. However, some people thought that this was a bit too much and wanted to simplify the process a bit more, and that's where this controller came into play. I know it looks like a standard controller with some turbo and slow features, but let's dig a little deeper and see how this thing works, shall we? As you can see on the front of the controller, there's a lot going on here. For example, I'm using the SNES version for really no particular reason, as this came out not only for that system, but the Genesis and even the PlayStation. What we're most interested in are these little thin buttons around the face buttons. The slow button, the turbo button, and the character select button as well. You see, each one of these buttons mapped to a corresponding special attack, so during the fight you could simply hit that button. I'm speaking of the thinner buttons, obviously. I know what you're asking though, how on earth does it know who you're playing? Well, that's the interesting part and why it's on this list. You see, there are switches near the top part of the controller that choose a character. Wait a minute, you say. There's only like 8 selections and Mortal Kombat has like 12 to 30 characters. You're right, there are a lot of characters in MK, and that's where this cart comes in. Yeah, this controller took cartridges. Each one had a certain number of characters on it, so you'd have to know which cart had what characters that you wanted to play so you could pick the right one and put that one into the controller. Each one of these would cost a little bit extra. Roughly $20, which could get expensive fast, particularly with the controller costing roughly $60 as an initial purchase. However, here's where things get a little fuzzy. It seems like there's a lot of variations on this controller. There was the more simplistic style for the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, which looks like it used interchangeable carts that would work either on either version, it didn't matter. Meaning the Genesis focused cart could work on the Super Nintendo and vice versa. On top of that, they had a PlayStation version, which had more buttons, and carts that looked like they were more like a VMU, even having a screen on them. In addition, the controller variants also looked like some of them could even work with more than just MK2 and MK3, with games like Fatal Fury Special, Clayfire, and Samurai Showdown and more on the list of games that you could get carts for. It's easy to see that people were trying to find ways to simplify fighting games down to one button for specials, even before developers started taking a hand in it and doing it natively. They'd often make specialized controllers or allow you to just map things particularly on the controller, and this seems to be one that was especially focused and pretty clever, if a bit expensive, depending on how many cards you wanted. However, what do you guys think of this one though? Were any of you a fan of this little oddity? Did any of you ever have one of these controllers, and if so, how well did it work? Let me know in the comments. However, for now, thank you so much for watching and spending part of your day with me. If I could ask you for one more favor, please leave this video a like. And if you haven't, consider subscribing. It really does help me out. For now though, thank you once again, and until we meet again, happy gaming.